Namaste. Welcome to the sixth edition of the Global Festival of Oneness celebrating the life and works of Adi Shankara, organized by Indica Moksha. My name is Anuradha and I'm the host for this session. Let us start with a prayer. Sada Shiva Samarambham Śaṅkarācārya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. We're very pleased to have with us Dr. C. Hariharan, and he is going to talk on the subject Role of Mimamsa Shastra in Studying and Understanding Advaita Vedanta. Before we go on to the talk, I'd like to introduce the speaker. Dr. C. Hariharan is Assistant Professor and Director, Digital Campus of the Madras Sanskrit College. He has been there since 2015. He studied Yajurveda during his childhood and completed Mimamsa Shastram in Tenali exam scheme under the guidance of Mahamahopadhyay Dr. Mani Dravida Shastri. Welcome, Dr. Hariharan.
नमस्ते। आङ्ग्लभाषायां भाषणारम्भतः प्राक् द्वित्रिवाक्यानि संस्कृते उक्त्वा आरब्धुम् इच्छामि। अत्र अन्तर्जालमाध्यमेन समुपस्थितेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः मम हार्दिकप्रणामः। कयाचित् प्रार्थनया मम प्रभाषणस्य उपोद्घातं करोमि। निगमाय सुकर्मबोधिने मुनये जैमिनये च सूत्रिणे शबराय च भाष्यकारिणे नम ईशाय कुमारिलात्मने सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. My namaskarams to one and all present online. I am here to talk on the topic role of Mīmāṃsā Śāstram in studying and understanding Vedanta Shastram. So I start with what is Mimamsa. The word Mimamsa refers to vichara. Vicharaha, a debate or a method which is used to understand the Vedic text. In many granthas, they say that Mimamsa is pujaniya vicharaha. So in Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, we use some yuktayaha, we can call it as logics, to interpret the Veda Vakyams. So, to interpret the Veda Vakyams, we do vicharaha, and that vicharaha is the meaning of Mimamsa. So, Mīmāṃsā Śāstram essentially means vichara Shastram. For brevity, we call this Shastram as Mimamsa. If we look into the question of from what period Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there? Is there a period where Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is created? If we ask like this, the answer is Mīmāṃsā Śāstram. Both the Purva Mīmāṃsā Śāstram and the Uttara Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there for eternity. From the beginning of time, Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there. In fact, the word Mimamsa to mean vicharaha is used in the Veda itself. For example, in Taittiriya Yajus Samhita, in the 7th Kandam, there is a verse go like this. Utsrijya notsrijyamiti mimagum sante brahmavadinaha. Here brahmavadinaha means those who try to understand the Veda. The word Brahma denotes Veda here. And those who do a debate or those who inquire or try to understand the Veda are called Brahmavadina. They do the Mimamsa, whether to do the Utsarjanam or whether not to do the Utsarjanam. They debate or they inquire. So they do the Mimamsa. In this verse, the Mimamsa is used in the meaning of vicharaha. So evidently, we can understand that Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there for eternity from the beginning of time. Since Veda is Anadi and Apaurushaya, so is the Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, because in Veda itself, Mīmāṃsā is used. I mean, the vicharaha is used. So what did Jaimini do? We say that Jaimini is the Acharya of Mimamsa Shastra. Jaimini wrote this Mimamsa Shastra in 12 adhyayams. Adhyaya means volume. So in 12 volumes, Jaimini Acharya, Jaimini Maharishi, wrote this Mīmāṃsā Śāstram. The first sutram of Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is Athato Dharma Jignasa, and the last sutram is Anvaharyecha Darshanat. So from Athato Dharma Jignasa, in 12 adhyayams, Jaimini composed this Mīmāṃsā Śāstram. So isn't it that Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is present from the time of Jaimini? The answer is it's not like that. Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there for eternity. And what did Jaimini do is, Jaimini formulated the knowledge system, which is called Mīmāṃsā. I mean the knowledge system which used to interpret the Veda with the logics, the yukti, yuktayaha. So they use the yuktayaha or logics to do the vicharam and churn out the meaning of, churn out the correct interpretation of Vedas. So this knowledge system is there from the beginning of time. So Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there for eternity. Not only the Purva Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, the Brahma Mīmāṃsā is also like that. So then why is it called Purva Mīmāṃsā and why is Vedanta Śāstram is called Uttara Mīmāṃsā? One may ask. See, the Vedas are divided into two. Purva Bhagaha and Uttara Bhagaha. The Purva Bhagaha we call it as Karma Kandam and the Uttara Bhagaha we call it as Jnana Kandam. So the Karma Kandam deals with the rituals, yajnas, etc., do's and don'ts, nitya karmas, naimittika karmas, kamya karmas, everything is explained there in the Karma Kandam or Purva Bhaga. So to understand the Purva Bhaga of the Veda, we do the vichara using these Mīmāṃsā logics, and hence this Mīmāṃsā is called Purva Mīmāṃsā. And the Jnana Kandam, the Veda Bhaga that deals with the Atma Vicharaha or Brahma Swarupam, that Vicharaha is called Uttara Mīmāṃsā. So to understand the Upanishad Vakyams, if we do a Vicharaha, and that Vicharatmakam Shastram, the Shastram deals with those logics, is called Uttara Mīmāṃsā. So here we have Purva Mīmāṃsā and Uttara Mīmāṃsā, and one might ask, what if one person studies the Upanishad Vakyams first? In fact, in my Adhyayanam period, I started with the Upanishads alone. At the time I got the admission to the Veda Pathashala, I was admitted into the batch which were studying the Upanishad. So from that person's point of view, if we studies the Upanishad Vakyams first, shouldn't that be Purva Bhagaha? No, it's not like that. Karma Kandam is called as Purva Bhagaha, because in Karma Kandam, Aihika, Amushmika, Phalam, etc. By studying the Karma Kandam, one can do the Anushtanam of Vihita Karmas. Vihita karmas that are prescribed in the Vedas. So karmas, I mean the yajnas, etc. that are prescribed in Vedas are multiple types. Nitya karmas, naimittika karmas, kamya karmas, so on and so forth. So by doing these karmas, let's say kamya karma, jyotishtomena swarga kamo yajeta. To attain swargaha, one should perform this jyotishtoma yagaha. Bhutikamaha vayavyena yajeta. Vayavyam shvetamala bhutikamaha. To attain wealth, one should do this vayavya yagaha, like this. So if one person performs this dharma, I mean the Vedic ritual or the yaga, yajnas, etc., he will attain these phalams. And these phalams are not there for eternity. Once his punyam is over, he then has to do again the punya karma again in order to attain the swarga or any phalam, punya phalam. he has to do that again. So this Janana Marana Chakra will not end. At the living time, he performs the Yaga Yajnas, etc. And because of the Punya Phalam, he enjoys or experiences the Punya Lokas, Exvarga, etc. And then he comes back to the Martya Loka. And then this Janana Marana Chakram is not ended. And once he inquires about the Atma Swarupam, once he gets the Vairagya and he starts to inquire about how to attain moksha, then also this karma never leaves. I mean, the Vaidika karma, even if he gets a sannyasa ashramam and sacrifices all his karmas, the sannyasa dharma, the anushtanams that are prescribed for a sannyasin should be followed. So nitya karmas are there to be followed because he got the janma based on, since he got this janma based on his varna and ashrama, he has to perform these karmas not to get phalam, etc. At least he performs the nitya karma in order to get chitta shuddhi. Only the one who is with the chitta shuddhi can understand the Mahavakyams that are there in the Upanishads. So in order to attain chitta shuddhi, he has to destroy all his papams. So to destroy all his papams, one has to keep performing the nitya karmas, because if he lives and if he does not perform a nitya karma, papam will come, and that papam might be a pratibandhakam, an obstacle for his atma swarupa jnanam. So even if one person is willing to get the moksha, he has to perform the karmas, and that karmas are prescribed in karma kandam. Hence the karma kandam is the steps in order to attain moksha for one person. So karma kandam is called Purva Mīmāṃsā, Purva Bhagaha, and Jnana kandam is called Uttara Bhagaha. So having said that, we will go into the question of why Mīmāṃsā is not a Vedangam. As I was saying, Mīmāṃsā is a Shastram which uses logics to do vicharaha and churn out the right way of interpretation of Vedic text. So since it is very close to the Vedas, why the Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is not there in Vedangas? What are the Vedangas? Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Chandaha, Niruktam, Jyotisham Tatha, Kalpascheti, Shadangani, Vedasyahur Manishinaha. So Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Chandaha, Niruktam, Jyotisham, Kalpaha. Karanam, Chandaha, Niruktam, Jyotisham, Tatha, Kalpaha. So 6 Vedangas are there. And why is not Mīmāṃsā listed as a Vedangam? For this question, Kanchi Paramacharya Mahapariva has given an answer in Deivattin Kural's 2nd volume. However, Mīmāṃsā is not there in the list of Vedangas. Mīmāṃsā can be called as Upanga of Veda. See, Vedangams, Vyakaranam, Jyotisham, etc. will help one to understand the Vedas itself. I mean, if one studies the Veda, studies a Veda Shakha, let's say, in order to understand the meaning of Veda, he has to study Vyakaranam, Kalpaha, Chandas, etc. These Shadangas. With the knowledge, the one who has knowledge of these Shadangas, he only can understand the Veda. And after understanding, it doesn't stop there. What if he has any doubt whether my understanding is correct or not? If he has this doubt, then he has to clear away his doubt with vicharaha, and to do such vicharaha, he has to possess the knowledge of logics or yuktis that are used to vicharaha, and for that he has to study the Mimamsa Shastra. So the Shadangas, Vyakaranam, etc. are there to help a person understand the Veda, and Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there to help a person who can understand the Veda, but if he has any doubt, to clear his doubt, Mīmāṃsā Śāstram is there to help that person. So Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, even though is not Vedangam, it is considered as Vedasya Upangam. So as I was saying, in this Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, there is a system called adhikaranam. In the adhikaranam means one logical argument where there is a conclusion. So in adhikaranam, one Purva Paksha will be there, one Vishayavakyam will be there, and one Samshayaha will be there. Samshayaha means doubt. Doubt is about the Vishayavakyam. This is the Vedavakyam. Should we understand this Vedavakyam like this or like that? Two different interpretation or two different meaning that Vakyam gives, and that doubt is called Samshaya. And one Purva Paksha is there. Purva Paksha will also use some logics to establish his way of interpretation, and one Siddhantaha will be there. Siddhantaha will counter the Purva Paksha first and then establish the correct way of interpretation. And one phalam will be there. So Vishayaha, Samshayaha, Purva Paksha, Siddhantaha, Prayojanam. What is the outcome of this vicharaha? In Purva Paksha, if we take the interpretation of Purva Paksha, this will be the difference in Anushtanam, and if we take the interpretation of Siddhantaha, this will be the this is what the Anushtanam will look like. So this is the phalam of the adhikaranam. Some say that Sangatihi is a component of adhikaranam. Phalan, vicharasya phalam will be there, it is understood. So Vishayaha, Samshayaha, Purva Pakshaha, Siddhantaha, Sangatihi. So these five are the components of adhikaranam, is the interpretation of some other people. So this is the adhikaranam. So in these adhikaranams, in Purva Mīmāṃsā, there are nearly, there are close to 900 plus adhikaranams are there in 12 adhyayas put together. So in 12 adhyayas, there are nearly 900 plus adhikaranams. And if I am not wrong, there are 500 plus Nyayas or yuktis are being introduced. So not that every adhikaranam will introduce a new logic. It's not like that. In many adhikaranams, the vichara will go like this. The yuktihi, which was introduced in previous adhikaranam, that yuktihi is applicable in this Vishaya Vakyam or not. Like that also vichara will go on and on. So not every adhikaranam will introduce a new yukti or new Nyaya. When I say Nyaya, what is Nyaya? Nyaya is simply a logic. Nyaya are, there are two types of Nyayas. One is Laukika Nyaya and one is Shastriya Nyaya. Both kind of Nyayas are used there in the Shastram. Laukika Nyaya, let's say Kakataliya Nyaya, Dandapupa Nyaya, like that. These Nyayas are also used there in Shastram. And some Nyayas are exclusive for Shastram alone. These Nyayas cannot be used in Loka. These logics cannot be used there in the outer world. For example, Vakya Bhedaha. Vidhi Gaurava Pariharaha अथवा Vidhi Laghava Samrakshanam is a Nyayaha or Shadvidhi Prakaraha. These logics are there to interpret the Vedic text alone. These are all these Nyayas cannot be used to understand the Laukika Vakyam, because in Laukika Vakyam what happens is the Vakta, the one who intends, if there is a doubt in a Vakyam, in his Vakyam, we can go and ask him or her that your Vakyam gives me two different kind of senses. What do you actually mean? We can ask him or her like that, and then he will explain. But in Apaurushaya Veda Vakyam is not said by anyone. Even if we agree with the fact that Vedas are, advised by Ishvara, we cannot ask Ishvara. So there is a framework, there is a formulation that is used to interpret this Veda Vakyam. So here Vidhi Laghavam, Vidhi Gauravam, Vakya Bhedaha, Prapte Karmani Aneka Guna Vidhane Vakya Bhedaha. Vakya Bheda itself comes in many different types. So these are the logics used to interpret the Vedas alone. So Bhagavan Jaiminihi, the Rishihi, formulated these adhikaranams into 12 adhyayams, and in 12 adhyayams, as I was saying, this Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, the knowledge system is there for eternity. So these logics that are used to vicharaha and the logics which are helpful to bring out the siddhanta, he formulated these logics into these 12 adhyayas. That is what Jaimini did. Even we can use the same logic to Vyakarana Shastram, and as I explained, the Vyakarana Shastram is also Vedangam, and it is also present even before Panini's time. So this is the Nyayaha means simply logic, and I would like to quote the Vakyams of my Guru Mahamahobadhyaya, Dr. Mani Dravid sir, in his PhD thesis, the Nyayaha for definition for Nyayaha goes like this: Nyayena nirnetum idam sutram ityadi pramanika vyavaharanurudhena Nyayanam nirnaya rupa siddhanta moola-bhuta tattvasya vaktavyatvat. Mīmāṃsā Śāstre Purvottara Pakshayoho Sadhakataya Yaha Yuktayaha Atra Avalambhyante Taha eva atra Nyayapadena Vivakshiyante. My Guru says here, Mīmāṃsā Śāstre Purvottara Pakshayoho, to establish a Purva Paksha or a Siddhanta, some logics are there used in the Vichara Shastram. So these logics are to be called as Nyayaha. So not to, the logic that is used by the Purva Pakshi, the Nyayas that are used by the Purva Pakshi are also called as Nyayas only, because many a times Purva Pakshi will use a Nyayaha that is accepted by the Siddhanti, but the Siddhanti counter that logic, saying that this logic is not applicable here. Just like in a courtroom, one opponent lawyer will quote some section, and the other party will counter that argument, saying that that section is not applicable here, like that. So the Nyayas that are used by the Purva Pakshi are also called Nyayas only, and with these Nyayas we interpret the Vedic texts. So in Uttara Mīmāṃsā, these Nyayas that are introduced in Dvadasha Lakshani, that is Purva Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, are being adapted in the Uttara Mīmāṃsā, in Vedanta Shastram, to understand the Upanishad Vakyams. For that, I would like to give few examples, and to do this lecture, I have taken the PhD research thesis of my guru, Mahamupadhyaya Dr. Manidhara sir, as I said. And this thesis is all about Uttara Mīmāṃsāyam Purva Mīmāṃsāyaha Prabhavaha. So here, Brahmasūtreshu Mīmāṃsā-Nyāyanam Ashrayanam. In this name, a chapter starts. And in this chapter, my guru have given 4 different adhikaranas. If time permits, I will explain all 4 adhikaranams and conclude my speech. In these 4 different adhikaranams, my guru has explained in detail that how Purva Mīmāṃsā logics are used by Adi Shankara Bhagavad Padacharya. So in Uttara Mīmāṃsā, 3rd adhyaya, 3rd padaha, 1st adhikaranam. Prana Vidya, Panchagni Vidya, Vaishvanara Vidya ityad upasanani pratyekam vibhinnasu upanishatsu shruyante. So there are some upasana margas are there. These upasanas are prescribed in multiple Veda shakhas. So what should we understand? These upasanas are same. Let's say like Panchagni Vidya is ordained or is prescribed in various Veda shakhas. Should we consider these Panchagni Vidyas as different, or the same Panchagni Vidya is there in different Veda shakhas? What should we understand here? Like this, a vichara starts. In that adhikaranam, the Siddhanta Sutram, the adhikaranam itself starts with the Siddhanta Sutram. Sarva Vedanta Pratyayam Chodanad Yavisheshat is the Siddhanta Sutram. Here, Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada explains, Sarveshu Vedanteshu Pratiyamanani Upasanani Abhinnani. In all the Veda Shakhas, whatever Upasana resembles the Upasana that is prescribed in a different Veda Shakha, these Upasanas should be considered as same. They are not different than one another. Iti Siddhanta Pratigna Labhyate. Tatra Hetuhu Chodanadhyavisheshat. Chodanadhyavisheshat. In this sutram, Adi Shabdaha is there. Adi Shabdaha means etc. We use Adi Shabdaha to starting from or to mean etc. So if I say Indradi Devaha, that means Devas starting from Indra, or Indraha Agnihi Yamadayaha Devaha means Devas like Indra, Agni, Yama, etc. So here in this Uttara Mīmāṃsā Sutram, it is said that Sarva Vedanta Pratyam Chodanadya Visheshat. So with the Adi Shabdaha, Bhagavad Padacharya says, Adigrahanena Śaṅkarācārya Siddhanta Sutroditaha Abheda Hetavaha Iha Akrishyante. Adi Śaṅkarācārya says that Abheda Hetavaha, to establish that these upasanas are same, we have to take the logics that are introduced in the Śaṅkarācārya of Purva Mīmāṃsā. Śaṅkarācārya is there in Purva Mīmāṃsā Śāstram. It is in 2nd adhyaya, Dvitiya adhyaya se 4th pada, 4th pada, and 8th adhikaranam is Śaṅkarācārya. In Śaṅkarācārya, so since this Vedanta, this Brahmasūtram starts with the Siddhanta Sutram, this adhikaranam in Brahmasūtram starts with Siddhanta Sutram, Bhagavad Padacharya says that the Purva Paksham also, to establish this logic, if at all we have to build a Purva Paksham, we have to adapt the Purva Paksha Yuktis also from the Śaṅkarācārya of Purva Mīmāṃsā. Not only Śaṅkarācārya says that, he also shows us the path on how to adapt the Purva Mīmāṃsā logics or yuktayaha to build a Purvapaksham and then counter the Purvapaksham and give Siddhantam. So here my Acharya has beautifully listed out the similarities between Adi Shankara Bhagavatpadacharya's Bhāṣyam and Shabara Bhāṣyam parallel to one another. Bhagavatpadacharya's Bhāṣyam goes like this. Namnahat, in the Śaṅkarācārya, the Purvapakshi gave a handful of yuktis to establish his paksha, which is in different Veda shakhas. If one particular ritual is prescribed, they are to be considered as different than one another. So let's say, like for an example, Agnihotra and Juhoti is there in Taittiriya Shakha. And if the same vakyam or same Agnihotram is prescribed in different Shakha, let's say Madhyandina Shakha, that Agnihotram is different from this Agnihotram which is prescribed in Yajurveda. Like that, to establish this argument, Purvapakshi gives a handful of logics: Nama, Rupa, Dharma, Vishesha, Punarukti, Ninda, Ashakti, Samapti, Vachana, Prayaschitta, Anyartha Darshanat. So these are the logics that Purvapakshi backed on these logics establishes his argument. Namnaha tavat bheda pratipatti hetutvam prasiddham jyotiradishu. Bhagavatpadacharya says, Jyotiradishu asti chatra vedantantara vihiteshu vijnaneshu anyadanyat nama taitiriyakam vajasaneyakam kauthumakam shatyayanakam ityevamadi iti Śaṅkara Bhāṣya. So the Veda shakhas are with different names. So in different shakhas, if the karma or the upasana, let's say Panchagni Vidya, has come there repeatedly, they are to be considered as different. Shabara Bhāṣyam Bhidyeteti Pashyamaha Kutaha Nama Bhedat. We can see the similarity between Adi Shankara Bhagavatpadacharya and Shabara Bhāṣyam. Adi Shankara Bhagavatpadacharya's Bhāṣyam and this. Kutaha Nama Bhedat. Ekam Kathakam Nama, Anyat Kalapakam Nama. Evam Nama Bhedat Bhedah. Like this, Bhagavatpada Acharya goes on with three logics that are there in Purva Mīmāṃsā Shastra Śaṅkarācārya adhikaranam and adopts these three logics and paves the path and says that like this we can adopt all the Nyayas and to establish a Purvapaksham for this adhikaranam, saying that these Upasanas are different. After doing this, Bhagavatpadacharya also takes the Siddhanta logics that are used in Śaṅkarācārya. Here the Bhagavatpadacharya's Bhāṣyam goes like this. Śaṅkara Bhāṣyam Sanyoga Rupa Chodanakhya Avisheshad ityarthaha yatha ekasmin agnihotre shakha bhedepi purusha prayatnaha tadrishayeva chodyate. Since the resemblance is there, even if the Agnihotram is described in other shakha, the similarity is there. Juhuyat, Agnihotram Juhuyat is repeatedly we can listen to that Upadesha. Evam yo havi jyeshtham cha shreshtham cha veda. This Upasana Prakara is also has that resemblance across various shakhas. Yo havi, the Vidhivakyams of these Upasanas resemble. Yo havi jyeshtham cha shreshtham cha veda iti vajasaniyinam chandoganam cha tadrishi eva chodana. So with the Vidhivakyam matches. The Vidhivakyam for this Upasana in Vajasaneya Shakha and Chandoga Shakha matches. Hence, it is to be considered that these Upasana Prakaras are same. Like that, Śaṅkarācārya goes on, and Śaṅkarācārya adopts only three logics and says that like this we can adapt all the logics from Śaṅkarācārya's Purvapaksha and Siddhanta. But Bhāmatikaraha did an extended vicharaha to adopt all the logics from Purvapaksha and Siddhanta of Śaṅkarācārya. So with this, I will move on to the next adhikaranam, which is called Bhumnaha Kratuvad Jyayastvam ityadhikaranam. So here, the Vaishvanaradhikaranam of Purva Mīmāṃsā is adapted. I mean, the logics of that Vaishvanaradhikaranam of Purva Mīmāṃsā is adapted here to come to the conclusion. For easy understanding, I will first explain the Vaishvanaradhikaranam of Purva Mīmāṃsā and then go on with the explanation of how Vedanta adapts the same logics. In Vaishvanaradhikaranam, the Veda Vakyam goes like this. Vaishvanaram Dvadasha Kapala Nirvapet Putre Jate is the Vidhi Vakyam. So Vaishvanaram, Vaishvanara is the Devata. Dvadasha Kapalam is a dravyam of that yaga. Dvadasha Kapalam Purodashaha. Purodashaha is a dough made up of rice flour, rice powder, which is cooked with the help of a plate made up of clay. This is the best I can do to explain what is Purodashaha is. Okay. So Dvadasha Kapala Purodasha Vaishvanara Yaga is being prescribed. And after this Vidhi Vakyam, there are some other Vakyams which seems like a Vidhi Vakyam, but in Siddhanta it is said that these are not to be taken as Vidhi Vakyams. So Yad Ashtakapalo Bhavati Gayatriyaivainam Brahmavarchasena Punati is the next Vakyam, is the succeeding Vakyam to Vaishvanaram Dvadasha Kapalam, actual Vidhi Vakyam. This is the succeeding Vakyam. If the yaga is performed with Ashtakapalaha, I mean the Purodasham, which is cooked with the help of 8 different clay plates. Different phalam is there. Gayatriya evainam Brahmavarchasena Punati. So Brahmavarchasam is the phalam one will get. In Navakapalaha, if it is Navakapala Purodashaha, Trivurdayivasmin Tejo Dadati. Tejas is the phalam. Yet Dashakapalaha Virajayivasmin Annadyam Dadati. Annadyam is the phalam if the same yaga is performed with Dashakapala. Yet Ekadashakapalaha, like this, it goes on. And at the conclusion, Yad Dvadashakapalaha Jagat Yevasmin Pashundadati Yasmin Jata Yetam Vishtin Nirvapati Putaha. So the actual phalam of the yaga is told here. Yasmin Jate. This particular yaga is to be done by Ahita Agnihi, for who is recently blessed with a child. So the phalam of this yaga is the pavitrata of that child. So this is the context. Here in the Vaishvanaradhikaranam, Purva Mīmāṃsā, the Purva Pakshi says the in-between Vakyams, which explains about the Ashtakapalaha, etc., are Gunaphala Vakyams. That means if the same yagaha is done with the help of different dravyam, that yagaha will give different phalam. Purva Pakshi says like this, but Siddhanti counters that Purva Paksha, says that Vaishvanaram Dvadashakapalam Nirvape is the opening statement. And Yasmin Jata Yetam Vishtin Nirvapati Putaha is the closing statement. So this opening and conclusion has to give one meaning. If we take that the in-between Vakyams are also Gunaphala Sambandha Vidhi Vakyams, that Ekavakyata between the opening and closing statement will get breaked. So to avoid this kind of Vakya Bhedaha, we should consider that the in-between Vakyams are Arthavadaha. Arthavadaha means the Veda Vakyams which are there to give Ruchihi, which are there to encourage Yajamanaha to do some yaga. So the Arthavadaha should be understood like this. The component of Dvadasha Kapalaha, the Ashtakapalaha, Navakapalaha, if we do a Dvadasha Kapala Purodasham, definitely Ashtakapalaha should be there, because 8 is the lesser number of 12, right? So the components can, the Purodashaha, which which is cooked with the lesser amount of kapala can give different types of phalams, then Dwadasha Kapala Purodashaha, the yaga which is done with the Dwadasha Kapala Purodashaha will definitely bring out a greater phalam. Like that, these in between vakyams are established as Arthavada vakyams. So this is the essence of Vaishwanara adhikaranam of Purva Mīmāṃsā. Now I quickly go on with the Uttara Mīmāṃsās adhikaranam. Bhumnaha kratuvad jyayastvam ityadhikaranam. Here, few Vipras go to a Raja and ask that Sutej Raja tu Dyusuryadinam Shannam Kramena Sutejasvitva Vishwarupatwadi Gunan Vidhaya Tadupasanasya. Okay, here these Vipras inquire the Raja, saying that Kona Atma Kim Brahma. Along with the Uddalaka, these Vipras inquire the Raja like this, and Raja Yebhihi Aviditaha Amshaha Maya Bodhaniya. Raja thinks that these Vipras are already learned people. So let me ask what have they learned, and then I will add a few things to explain about the Brahman. So here these Vipras give different answers. Here in this particular Upasana, the Vaishwanara means here Parabrahma. Jatharagnyupalakshita Parabrahma is called as Vaishwanara here. Jatharagnihi means the Agnihi. This is a certain, this is a special kind of Upasana. In Gita also Bhagavan says, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashirtaha Pachamyannam Chaturvidham, goes like this. So Vaishwanara, the Parabrahma Swarupam is to be meditated as Vaishwanaragnihi, which is Jataragnihi. So in this particular Upasana, there are so many procedures that in this Vidya, in this Upasana Prakaraha, Paramatma should be meditated as Murdha, etc. So different avayavas are there, and the Raja says that one who meditates the Paramatma, Raja Dyusuryadinam Shannam Kramena Sutejisvitva Vishwarupatwadi Gunan Vidhaya. So Sutejisvitvam is the phalam if the Paramatma is meditated related to one avayava. And with the other avayava, other phalam is there. Like this, the Raja explains. So here in Vedanta, one doubt comes out that Vyastopasanam, one should do the Vyastopasanam, one can do the Vyastopasanam also, or one should do the Samastopasanam alone. Like that, one Sandeha comes up. Vyastopasanam, Samastopasanam cha ubhayam vidheyam. Uta Samastopasanam eva iti samshaye Purvapakshe pratyekam upasye ityakhyata shravana phalabheda shravanacha. Just like Vaishwanara adhikaranam, they say that since there are different phalams are prescribed by that by that Raja in this Upanishad, Vyastopasanam can also be performed to attain those different phalams. And Siddhantam says, in Siddhanta, they say that this Ekavakyata, similar to Vaishwanara adhikaranam of Purva Mīmāṃsā, this Ekavakyata will break if we take these in between vakyams as Gunaphala-vidhi. The Vyastopasanam should not be performed, only the Samastopasanam, Sakala Avayava Samuchita Paramatmanaha Dhyanam, Paramatmanaha Upasanam is to be performed, and in this Upasana, Samastopasanam is the prescribed format. Vyastopasanam is not. These vakyams that appears like they are prescribing Vyastopasanam are to be taken as considered as Arthavada Vakyams. This is the second adhikaranam. And one another adhikaranam I will take to explain how Mimamsa logics are adapted into Vedanta. Akasha adhikaranam. In Akasha adhikaranam, the Upanishad Vakyam goes like this: Asya lokasya ka gatihi iti Akasha iti hovacha sarvani hava imani bhutani akashadeva samutpadyante akasham prati astanyanti akasho hi eva yebhyah jyaya akashah parayanam sayesha parovariyan udgitah sayeshah anantah parovariyaha hi asya bhavati parovariyasaha ha lokan jayati ya etadevam vidwan parovariyamsam udgitham upaste. This is the Vishaya Vakyam of this adhikaranam in Vedanta Shastra. So here the Akasha Shabdaha is used there, and this Akasha Shabdaha is used in the meaning Parabrahma. In Purva Pakshaha, the Purva Pakshaha is built based on the argument that this Akasha Shabdaha is not to be taken as Paramatma, not to be meant as Paramatma. This Akasha Shabdaha is the Bhutakasha. Bhutakasha means the Akasha, the space in the 5 elements. Like this, the Purva Pakshaha goes. So in Purva Pakshaha also, the Purva Mīmāṃsā logics are adapted here. अत्र उद्गीतावयवे ओंकारे संपाद्य उपास्यः आकाशः भूताकाशः ब्रह्म एव ब्रह्म वा इति संशयः आकाशशब्दस्य ब्रह्मण्यपि क्वचित् प्रयोगदर्शनात्. So with the Vakyashesha Nyayah, Siddhanti says Vakyashesha Nyayah is there. Vakyashesha Nyayah means the Arthavada Vakyam, which is Ekavakyatapannam with the Vidhi Vakyam, can be helpful to interpret the meaning of the Vidhi Vakyam if some word is doubtful in the Vidhi Vakyam. For example, Aktaha Sharkaraha Upadadhati is a Vidhi Vakyam. The Sharkara or a stone which is made wet to be used in a Chayanam is the meaning of that Vidhi Vakyam. And in the listening to this Vidhi Vakyam, we are not sure using what liquid item we should wet the stone. And the Vakyashesha says Tejo vai Ghritam. So since Ghritam is the Stuti Vishaya of the Arthavada Vakyam, we take the meaning that the stones that are made wet with the use of Ghritam or ghee are to be used in the Chayanam. So the Vakya Shesham or the Arthavada Vakyam helps the Vidhi Vakyam to mean a particular thing. So here so many Vakya Sheshas are there. Yadesha Akasha Anando Nasya. So Akasha in the other Upanishads or the Akasha Shabda in the other Upanishads are used to mean Paramatma. So why not we take the meaning Paramatma for the Akasha Shabda in this context also, asks the Siddhanti. For that, the Purva Pakshi gives counter saying that Mukhyarthaha Gaunarthapekshaya Prabalaha. Mukhyartha means literal meaning is greater than the Gaunartha. Gaunartha means, if I say Simhaha Devadattaha, when I want to describe Devadattaha as a Parakramashali, I will say Simhaha Devadattaha. So here Simha Shabdaha is used to describe Devadattaha, but Devadatta is not the literal meaning of Simha Shabdaha. So Simha Shabdaha is Gaunartha. So if it comes to the debate, if we debate among these two meanings, one is Mukhyartha and one is Gaunartha, Mukhyartha is to be preserved. So saying this, Akashaha is the Bhutakasha, the space is the Mukhyartha of Akasha Shabdaha, then why should we take the other meaning, Paramatma, here? This is one argument. And the Purvapakshi further goes, even if you take the Akasha Shabdaha as Yogikartha means we can split that word into two and we can take the meaning. For example, Pachakaha is the Yogikartha, Yogika Shabda. Pakam karoti iti Pachakaha. Like that, Asamantat kashate prakashate. The literal Akasha, that is the space, has no Prakashaha. So, Asamantat kashate. Brahmaswarupam is described as a Prakashaha, Jyotihi. So, why not we take the Yogika Vyutpatihi of the Shabdaha Akashaha and take the meaning that Paramatma is described here in this context? Siddhanti asks, and Purvapakshi counters this argument also, saying that Yoga Drudhihi Baliyasi. Yoga Drudhihi Baliyasi is the logic adapted from Purva Mīmāṃsā, from Rathakara adhikaranam of Shashtadhyaya. So, Rudhyarthaha is Prabalam, is greater than the Yogikartha, saying that Purvapakshi again establishes his point of view, his interpretation, saying Akasha Shabdaha here refers to the Bhutakashaha only. Like this, he proceeds further on to counter the Siddhanti's logics. Nanvatra Brahmalinganam Bahutvat Bhuyonugrahanyayena Ekasyaha Akashashrutehe Mukyarthabhadaha Yuktaha iti chet. Here, Siddhanti comes up again with another logic which is introduced in Purva Mīmāṃsā, which is Bhuyonugrahanyaya. Here, in this Vakyam, in this Vishaya Vakyam, Asya Lokasya Kagatihi Akasha iti hovacha is the one Vakyam. And to support that Akashaha is, the word Akashaha means Parabrahmam, there are so many other Vakyams. Like Sarvani Hava Imani Bhutani Akasha Deva Samutpadyante. Akasha is the reason for the creation. Akasham Pratyastayanti. All the Prapancha gets laya into the Akasha. Akasho hi eva ebhya jyayan. These qualities are described in this Vishaya Vakyam. So these qualities does not match with the Bhutakashaha or the space in the 5 elements. So many Vakyams support the argument that Akasha Shabdaha means Parabrahma only. So why not we take the Bhuyonugraha? Bhuyonugraha means many logics are there to support this particular meaning. Why not we take the Bhuyonugrahanyayam and interpret the Akasha Shabdaha as Parabrahma? Siddhanti asks, and Purvapakshi counters that logic also with again a Purva Mīmāṃsā logic, which is Mukhya Nyaya. You can bring up the Bhuyonugrahanyaya, but the Bhuyonugrahanyaya will not work when I use the Mukhya Nyaya logic. Here, Akashasya cha atra Akashasya cha atra upasyataya pradhanyat tadbodhaka padasyapi pradhanyat Akasha padasya vakya upakrame shruyamanatva. Two logics Purvapakshi uses here. Akasha is the Mukhya. Akasha is the main thing that is about which the Upanishad Vakyam is talking about. So that is the Mukhya Vishayaha. So the word that describes the Mukhya Vishayaha, Upasana Vishayaha, should not be taken as a Gaunartha or Yogikartha. So Bhuyonugrahanyayaha should be given up in this context, says the Purvapakshi. And one another logic also he brings up and concludes his argument saying that Akashaha here means Bhutakashaha only. And Siddhanta goes like this: Yataha Akashaha Tallinga is the Siddhanta Sutram. Uktavakya Akashaparam Brahma Parameva Brahmalinga. Based on the lingam, because the lingam means samarthyam, artha samarthyam. In the Upanishad Vakyam, it is said that Akasha Deva Bhutani Utpadyante. Each and every living being or each and every being is created from the Akasha. This is the lingam. This samarthyam is there with the Paramatma only. This samarthyam is not there with the Bhutakasha, the element Akasha. So this Akasha Shabda should mean Brahma alone. Is the Vada of is the Vada of Siddhanti. In fact, the Purva Pakshi has countered this Vada also, saying that Shruti Lingayor Madhye Shrutihi Prabala. If I go into that explanation, it will take more time. So Siddhanti says that Siddhanta Sutram is like this: Akashayo Tal Lingat. So based on the lingam, Akasha means Brahman alone. And Purva Pakshi again asks, that is what I also countered. Shrutihi is prabalam than lingam. So Shruti, Shrautartha is to be taken, and Shrautartha is the Bhutakasha. But here the Siddhanti counters that argument, saying that if the lingam can support a meaning of Shrutihi, that lingam is to be considered, and Shrutihi, the Mukhyartha, can be flexed and give a different meaning also. This is also established in the Purva Mīmāṃsā Śāstram, where in one particular adhikaranam, Arthadva Kalpanika Deshatva, in this adhikaranam, lingam is the Durbalam Pramanam. If we compare the Prabalyam among Shruti and lingam is the Durbalam Pramanam. Even though the lingam is the Durbalam Pramanam, if the lingam complements the Shrutihi, Shrutarthaha, then that is to be taken. Here, the example from Purva Mīmāṃsā, for this logic, the example in Purva Mīmāṃsā is Hastena avadyati, Sruvena avadyati, Swadhitina avadyati. Let's take one vakyam, Hastena avadyati. So, Avadanam is splitting or Prithakaranam. Hastena avadyati. So, Avadanam is to be performed. Avadanam is the Shrutihi, avadyati, the Samana Pada Shrutihi is there. So, Avadanam is to be performed. Whatever tool is there, we can use that tool to do the Avadanam, is what Shruti says. But the Lingam says, Hastena, based on the Lingam, we can understand that whatever Padartham can be taken with bare hands. That is, for that Avadanam, this Shruti says Hastena Avadyati, like that. I am not sure how well I explained this in English, but the point is, the Avadana Shruti, he takes a Sankochaha based on the Lingam. Lingam means the Samarthyam of Hastaha. So, the things that can be taken, that can be, Avadana Vishayaha of bare hands, are to be taken with the Vakyam Hastena Vadyati, like that. So, here in this Mīmāṃsā adhikaranam, we have seen that Shruti can take the Sankochaha based on the Lingam, if the Lingam complements the Shruti Vakya, Shrutihi. So, here also, if the Lingam, I mean the Akasha Lingam, Sarvani Hava Imani Bhutani Akashadeva Samutpadyante, like that, the Jagat Karanatvam, Jagat Utpatti Laya Sthiti Karanatvam is the quality of Brahman. So, since the Lingam complements the argument of that Akasha Shabdaha is Akasha Shabdaha means Brahman. Based on the Lingam also, we can slightly flex the Shabdaha, since Akasha Shabda is also used as used to denote Brahman, as I said in other Upanishads. So we flex the Akasha Shabdaha little bit to mean Brahman. So adapting this Mīmāṃsā Yuktihi, Mīmāṃsā Siddhantam, here also in this adhikaranam also, the Vedanta Vakyam is explained. So to churn out the right meaning, right interpretation, we use different logics that are used in Purva Mīmāṃsā Śāstram. And not only that, if we got some logics, we also, the procedure is also to be preserved. I mean, if one logic is explained in or introduced in one adhikaranam, the other adhikaranams also we should think that this logic is applicable here or not. Like that, so many logics are there, and the procedure is also to be preserved. Why I'm saying this is, like they say in mathematics, even if we come to the total, even if we can arrive to the correct total or correct sum, that procedure is also important, right? So to maintain the sampradaya, otherwise what will happen is anyone can quote any logic to base his or her argument. So to avoid these confusions, the Shastra Parampara, the Shishtāchāra Parampara is also to be preserved. So having said this, I thank the Moksha of Indica Academy once again for giving me this opportunity. I here conclude this speech. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hariharan, for breaking down this very complicated topic for all of us and giving the various Nyayas to understand Advaita Vedanta. Viewers, we have many such wonderful topics coming up. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. India time, we have a talk by Vidwan Manikandan Iyer on contemplation on supreme truth, Mahavakya Vichara in Śaṅkarācārya. So please do join us at 7 a.m. India time. Namaste and goodbye.